Hey, this is JC. Welcome to Urban Knife Guy, where we explore the urban lifestyle and jungle survival. Today I'm checking out this knife from DPX Gear, made in the USA. This is the Hest 6 mil-spec fixed blade knife. First, if you watch this channel regularly but have not subscribed, please do so to help the channel out. And if you'd like to support the channel even more, do check out my shop links in the pinned comment or description below. You can even join as a channel member. Thanks a lot. A shout out to DPX Gear for sending this to me. It took almost 2 months to get to me, but it was worth the wait. So this is completely made in US. It is a fixed blade and it is a tactical survival knife. All right, let's get straight to it. Comes in this simple carton box of labeling, and nested inside this paper shreds, we have the knife. Now, this particular blade features a Stonewashed finish, an S35VN blade, and KYDEX sheath. Now, there's also a Magna Cut version, and there's also another S35VN version, but those come in leather sheaths and different handles as well. I wanted something black, Stonewashed blade, and KYDEX sheath, very important in the tropical jungle, and I'm very happy with S35VN blade steel, so this is the one I have over here. So this is the package. And I'll tell you right from the start, I knew it's a 6-inch knife, a rather big knife, but when I first felt it, I felt, wow, this is actually really lightweight for such a big blade, because I've got blades about 6 inches or even shorter, which are much heavier. And this is not a thin knife. This is made from 5mm blade stock, or 0.2 inches. So it is pretty thick, yet it's lightweight, and I was quite impressed with that. You get a KYDEX sheath, and you do have a belt clip, and this can slip onto any kind of belt 1.5 inches and below. To deploy, just push it out, and there you have it. And this is the blade right over here. You can see it's got a very distinct tactical design. Now, got to admit, when I first saw this particular blade shape, I wasn't necessarily drawn to it. Maybe I'm just drawn to the more bushcraft style knives or traditional knife designs, and not so much into tactical knives. But as I've handled this more, I've actually grown to really like this design, and I have a great appreciation of all the design elements that went into the knife. So it's not just kind of a tactical design for design's sake. I can see that there's been a lot of thought put into the design, and that actually translates to functionality and usability. All right, I'll talk more about that in just a bit. Let's talk about some specs of the knife first. So the blade length is 6 inches, the handle length is about 5 inches, and the overall length is 11.18 inches. The weight, great weight, it's only 10.23 ounces or 290 grams, which to me, for a knife of this size, is actually very light. And the reason is actually the design. If you look, there's a swedge over here that is distilled tapering, so it's thicker over here, and then it kind of narrows or tapers down towards the tip, but still very robust tip, as I can see. You do have this swedge over here, then it comes down to almost a high saber grind, and again, a grind that I like. And for a survival, all-round tactical bushcraft knife, I think this is very good. For my purposes, of course, I look at it more from a bushcraft or survival point of view, not so much as a tactical or fighting knife. But I can see that this could definitely fit in those sort of scenarios or functions. So the blade steel is S35VN as mentioned, great steel, good edge retention, reasonable toughness, of course corrosion resistant as well. So it is a powdered steel, so just generally all around good quality steel. So this is a Stonewashed finish. The handle is black G10, and it is a full tang knife, as you can see. Now, this is G10, but it's really sculpted, and I gotta say, this is one of the best ergos I've had for a knife. And in fact, you can see the scallops here for the fingertips or fingers, and that works for both hands, whether you're left or right-handed, and this gives you such a good grip. I'm impartial towards G10. I generally like micarta, but honestly, the design of these scales make this G10 really nice. Grippy, yet feels comfortable, and you feel really confident with that hammer grip. Now, if you do a reverse grip, also not a problem. It also fits the hand very well. So if you need to do some stabbing, or if you're in combat situations, I can imagine you would feel really confident with the purchase on this knife either way. I think just so good, that design. I also appreciate the fact that the handle is not thick. A lot of these knives tend to have very thick and stout handles, our small to medium hands, and I just don't feel I get a good comfortable purchase when I hold a very thick handle, and especially if I'm going to do prolonged work with it, I'll definitely get fatigued. But this just feels so good, and I'm sure even if you have larger hands, you absolutely have no problem. You can see I don't even fill up the handle. If you have big hands, you won't fill it up as well. I think it'll just be very comfortable as well. Now you notice there is a thumb ramp and some jimping. Again, I thought, well, it looks like maybe a tactical design, but there's actually great function, which I appreciate. So first is jimping. They've actually had it in different diameters for Y stripping. I thought that was pretty interesting. Why not, right? If you are designing jimping, you might as well have additional functionality. You may or may not use it. But you notice this kind of goes up, rises up, and comes down. And actually works pretty well, because if you put your thumb over here to kind of press down to do some harder work, that works very well. If you want to do finer work and you want to cross over, now your thumb actually kind of pushes back on this curve. So that nice concave design actually makes it more secure. So there is a reason for this design for the thumb ramp, which I never really considered before. Great for pushing forward, good grip there. At the same time, if you come over final work, you got a good grip there. You got a lot of pressure moving back. So that's just really nice. And I talked about the different swedges, and really I can see that's to reduce the weight, which really, I think for a large knife like that, I do appreciate the weight, because one thing about big knives, I'm always concerned about the weight. But this is one knife, even with a 6-inch blade, handles to me almost like a 4-inch blade. There is this extended pommel, so there's a lanyard hole over here. This is supposed to be a pry bar, so I'm not sure how you'd use this. Maybe there's a military kind of application, you can let me know. It's a bit thick in my opinion, I mean, to really pry anything that you need, but maybe again, there's a very specific application you could use of it. You could definitely pound and crash. I mean, if I'm thinking I want to break coconuts, for example, that could definitely pound that in. So kind of a skull breaker over there. So overall, in hand, I can't say enough about it. I think it's got a great design, and they're just all the things I like about in a survival knife. I like the grind, I like the fact there's a sharpening choil, the handle's not too thick and it's well sculpted. Thumb ramps and jimping, I generally have no problem with those, but this really works very well. So before I go out to the field to test this out, let's just compare it with some knives that I have. And I don't have anything exactly like that, but I'll just bring out some familiar knives so that you can have a size comparison and just have a look. So we do have here the Tops Fieldcraft Bob knife, brothers of Bushcraft. This is of course a much smaller blade, but it's a well-known Bushcraft style blade, full tang, 4.5 inches, and this is really thick, as you can see. In fact, it's thicker than the Hest, and this is, I'm not sure if it's heavier, but it does feel heavier in hand compared to this. This is much more nimble, and in fact I just find this very well balanced. All right? I feel like I can just twirl it and have no problems. Don't have that same confidence over here. All right, let's have a look at another knife. This is the Cold Steel SRK. Definitely kind of a all-round tactical survival knife, general purpose. 6-inch blade length as well, but definitely not as big. And this is SK5 steel. In terms of the thickness, it's about, yes, 5 millimeters as well. But definitely a different shape, I would say different capabilities. This may be slightly lighter because it's smaller, but I can tell, even though I haven't even tested it, this definitely would probably be able to do much more things than the SRK. Finally, let's compare it to a really big knife, another Cold Steel knife, one of my favorite big knives, that's the Recon Scout. And this is in 3V. I've talked about this knife quite a few times. Now this of course is a super thick knife, that's 7 millimeters, way thicker than the Hest, but I can tell you this is very nimble for its size. So it'll be interesting when I do go out to the field and kind of put these to a head-to-head, which I actually prefer, because I really do like the Recon Scout. Nice big blade, but still so nimble. Tell you what, let's bring this out to the field. I'm going to just go do my usual jungle bushcraft tasks. I'll try other things as well, and then I'll share my thoughts in the field. We're in the jungle and we are going to field test the DPX Gear Hest 6. Now, I didn't mention this earlier, but the scales can actually be removed and the inside of the handle is skeletonized. This allows you to put some survival items inside. You could put a straw filled with cotton and petroleum jelly. You might have some tinder material. You can put water purification tabs, maybe a mini ferro rod, whatever you think you could fit inside. This could be a last resort emergency survival kit. Now, I don't think this is essential because most people who go out to the jungle or the wilderness will be prepared with survival items, but it's nice to know that there are these capabilities and you have the flexibility of including a kit inside the handle if you want. So let's bring some wood to this and let's do a basic field test. What can I say? I really like this knife. Now, whether it's for heavier work like battening, which is really simple, or even chopping into bamboo, that was really easy, I would say. And I do think the handles are quite ergonomic. However, if you are chopping, you have to take care of the pommel, because if you hold it further back and maybe you don't grip it right and you're doing a chop with a loose grip, this might dig into your fingers, or it depends how you hold it, so you have to be careful. So if you hold it like this with your pinky here, definitely you're going to feel that digging into your finger. But if you work out the exact position that might work for you, you can avoid that. So that's something to take note of, simply due to the shape of the back handle or the pommel, because normally a pommel will be straight here, which is more traditional. This kind of angles down, so if you just use it as you normally would, you might feel that biting into you. Speaking of the pommel, it was quite effective. This is obviously going to do a lot of damage if you're going to strike and concentrate all the force on it, so definitely can crack through bamboo, and I'm sure it can do the same for coconut as well, and whatever other materials you want to actually pound. In terms of the overall design, how the thumb can be positioned, as mentioned in the studio, I thought that it was well designed, and definitely when I was doing final work and I had to choke up, whether I was feather sticking either way, right, whether I was pressing down this way or drawing back, I think I got decent curls, and this isn't even the best wood to feather stick with. It is a bit knotty, and the grain itself is not that fine, but still could get decent curls. So
I think the edge is great. I like the overall grind, that high saber grind, the thickness behind the edge all seems to work very well for the knife. And if I just look at it, no deformation or chips on the blade whatsoever, which, yeah, it's holding up. It'll be interesting to see how sharp it is. I'm sure it's still sharp, maybe not paper sharp, but definitely holding its edge for any kind of field work that you want. So it's got a good working edge. Overall, I think this is a great knife. If you're looking for a large survival knife, bushcraft knife, or kind of a 1-2 option, this would definitely be an option that I would consider. When I'm carrying just one knife, or maybe one knife and a saw, I would say I would likely pick this knife as definitely one of the top choices that I would choose. If I'm doing regular bushcrafting and I'm carrying my regular parang and a saw, I might not need such a large knife. I can go with my Line Steel M4, which is a smaller knife. But if I wanted capabilities, I wanted confidence to be able to do a lot of different tasks, or I just wanted to carry maybe this and a Swiss Army knife, then I would definitely be very comfortable carrying this particular knife. Overall, well made, highly recommended, and I think if you're looking for a made in USA knife that fits the bill for a survival knife, full tang, and can do all kinds of work, I think you can have a look at the DPX Gear Hest 6. If you have this knife, do let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Does it live up to your expectation, and do you carry it as a 1-2 option? If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up, and if you like the content in general, please subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell. Thanks for watching. Talk to you soon.